Hello, quite a simple video this time, and it's going to be on the box. Remember, I use the word box for any self-contained element, so that we can keep all the terms we need in one box. So all the melody terms go in the melody box, all the harmony terms go in the harmony box. It's really important that you get used to understanding that if you're asked to talk about rhythm, that you stick to rhythm, because if you make a really good point about texture, it doesn't count. So this box is going to be tempo, meter, and rhythm. And I'm always going to refer to it as rhythm, and we're going to take tempo and meter as understood, part of the rhythm boxes. So let's investigate what all those things mean first of all. Tempo. Tempo is just the speed. Now the speed can be set in lots of different ways depending on the style of music. It could be that we talk about beats per minute. We might do that with a pop piece or a rock piece or a dance piece, a modern dance groove piece. We know that sort of in clubs the tempo is getting faster with more and more modern music, and it's around 120 beats per minute. So they would say 120 BPM. But also in classical music we would also get beats per minute, but it would be written as a metronome mark. So the metronome is the tick tick thing that tells you how fast to go. So if you set your metronome at 120 beats per minute, and let me just grab a metronome. Okay, so there is a metronome, and then I could adjust the slider to 120 beats per minute. Of course you can use the phone app. Now that's only going to work if I hold it steady. So that would be 120 beats per minute. So that's one way of working out the speed. The other way, the more sort of classical way, is to actually give it an Italian term. Allegro is fast. Adagio is slow. In the Beethoven we're going to see we've got a French term for, or Italian term, depending on how you say it, it's either grave or grave, for slow. So there are lots of different terms meaning the same thing. Very fast would be presto. So all Italian terms give us a sense of how fast it should be. Andante is a walking pace. Allegretto is a little less fast than allegro. Moderato is obviously a moderate pace. And this piece is allegro. So there's a little bit of flexibility, isn't there? The difference between 120 beats per minute means it has to go exactly the right speed, whereas allegro is, what's your idea of fast today? Because your idea might change on different days. So this piece is allegro. Well, wouldn't it be nice if that was the only thing we needed to remember? Well, it is, actually. The only thing we need to remember for tempo in this piece is that it is allegro. But we can squeeze extra marks out of that, because why is it allegro? Because it is the final movement of a concerto. And we want our final movements to have energy, lots of energy, get the audience clapping, get them enjoying themselves, showing off your instruments. So because it's an appropriate tempo for the last movement, last or final movement. The other thing is that we know it's a dance, it's a jig. So therefore it's an appropriate tempo for a jig or a jig, which is a fast dance. It's also an appropriate tempo for the last movement of a multi-movement work. A three-movement work would be a multi-movement work, and we want to end with a fast one. So, that's just one word, but we've given at least two justifications of why allegro fits and is suitable for this piece. Now, meter. That's a tricky one. I'm going to come back to allegro and say that in some of our pieces that we study later on, the tempo changes. The tempo doesn't change And that's an important thing in itself. The tempo does not change at all in this piece. No, it doesn't. It doesn't change at all. And the meter doesn't change at all. There's a reason for that. Firstly, what is meter? A meter is the time signature, the number of beats in the bar. And this piece has got the same number of beats in every bar all the way through, it doesn't change. It's got the same tempo all the way through, it doesn't change. Why? Well, because in the Baroque period, they thought that if you wanted to have something different to say, you would finish your movement and start a new movement. That your movement would be of one character all the way through, and then if you want to change character or change mood, you would stop that movement and start a new piece in a new character. And that's why we have multi-movement pieces. Maybe a fast movement, maybe a slow movement in a minor key, maybe another fast movement but in a different time signature. So, German word. Affect. That sort of means mood, okay? Now in the Baroque period, it was one affect or mood per movement. They didn't like you changing it, so therefore if we're only having one affect or one mood per movement, then our tempo and our meter aren't going to change, because that would change the mood.
Assuming that my calculations are correct, I believe that a change of decoration is in order. Gryffindor wins the House Cup.
So, all very simply, with the one word allegro, we've got, what have we got? We've got, it's fast. Why is it fast? Well, it's the last movement, and we want it to be energetic. Why is it fast? Because it's a jig, and we want it to be lively. So we're just unpicking and justifying all the time. Why doesn't allegro change? Why is it allegro for the whole piece? Is that not boring? No. Because in the Baroque period, we wanted to be sure of the mood of our piece, and one mood only per movement. Lots of unpicking. That's where you get your essay marks from. So, meter. Meter is the time signature. In this case, it is in 2/4. What does that mean? Well, 2 is the number of beats. There are 2 beats in the bar, and they are quarter notes or crotchets. So 2 crotchets in every bar. Of course, that means you might have any combination of things that add up to 2. 2 quavers and a crotchet, still the same. Or 4 quavers, still the same. So we've got 2 beats in every bar all the way through this piece. Our piece is in 2/4. There's a posh term for that. The 2 is called duple. And because it divides into, each beat divides into 2, there's 1 beat, there's 1 beat, it divides into 2, we call it simple. So it'd be 1 and 2 and 1 and 2 and but, and then I can divide it into 2 again. And when we can keep dividing it into 2s, so that we would end up with something that looked like this: 4 crotchets equals 2 minims, 8 quavers, and so on. Okay? And we can keep dividing things by 2, we call it simple. So this piece has got a problem. It is written in simple duple, which is 2/4, which is 2 crotchets per bar. But actually, the beats never divide into 2. Bach has taken a little bit of a cheat. He's decided to make life a bit easier and not write the whole piece out in 6 quavers per bar. And he should have done, because 6 quavers per bar is a rumpety-tumpety, rumpety-tumpety, ba-ba-da-da-ba-da-da-ba-da-da-ba-da, and that is the rhythm of a jig. 1 2 3 1 2 3 1 2 3 4 5 6 1 2 3 4 5 6 bum ba bum ba 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 bum bum ba dum ba dee da. That's the rhythm of a jig, okay? And that is 6/8. Now, 6/8, as some of you will know, is also 2 beats in a bar. But this time, we would divide this beat into 3 notes. 3 notes per beat. So if I were to play 2/4 and 6/8, but I was only going to play beats, you would never know the difference. It would feel like 1, 2, 1, 2. But once I get faster notes, I either go 1 and 2 and 1 and 2 and, or I go 1 and a 2 and a 1 and a 2 and a. And this is still 2 beats in the bar. I can explain that to anybody that's doing grade 5 theory over a long time, over a long cup of tea, because it's one of the things you really need to get your head around. But 6/8 is still duple, still 2 beats in a bar, but instead of being 2 lots of 8, it's actually 2 lots of dotted crosses. Now it's going to take me some unpicking in a separate video if you want to know why, okay? But the effective thing is that we call it compound duple because the beats divide into 3. Now Bach should have written it in 6/8 in compound duple, 2 beats in a bar, each one divided into 3. But he decided to be a bit lazy and he wrote it in 2/4 and then still divided the beats into 3 but used the triplet sign. Now, so the meter is 2/4. Because it's a jig, it needs to feel like 6/8. So he's made 2/4 feel like 6/8 by using triplets. Just a shortcut, and a shortcut that is annoying lots of year 10s across the country because they've got to study a piece that is effectively written in a fake time signature. So if they say, what is the meter of this piece? I would say it's in 2/4 but uses triplets to give a compound feel. It's in 2/4 but uses triplets to give a compound feel because it's a jig and jigs are a compound time signature. So the meter doesn't change. The tempo doesn't change, but both of those comments will open up lots of marks for you if you understand why it's in 2/4, why it should have been in 6/8, why it's allegro, because there are 2 reasons. So very simply, the very basic student looking for a grade 4 or 3 would remember that it's allegro and that it's in 2/4. But if you want more marks than that, you have to be able to unpick that. It's allegro because it's the last movement, it's allegro because it's a jig. It's in 2/4, but it should be in 6/8 to give a compound feel because it's a jig. The meter doesn't change all the way through the piece because we only have 1 mood per movement in the block period. The tempo doesn't change all the way through the piece. And suddenly you've gone 5, 6, 7, now we're looking at students that are looking for 8s and 9s. Rhythm. Actually, what should have been the hardest thing of all, because there are more rhythms in this piece than these simple answers, that's actually now going to be quite easy because we don't have to interpret it. Because we've done all the interpreting here. So what are the rhythms? Well, we have a dotted rhythm to start with. Ba-dum-ba, ba-dum-ba. Now, if you read the guide, it will say this should be played in a triplety way, and they're right. Ba-dum-ba, ba-dum-ba. So it would say it's going to be slightly lazy. So fit in with the triplets. Ba-da-ba-ba-da-ba-bum, ba-dum-ba-dee. But we can still talk about it as having a dotted rhythm. That's still a valid point. Dotted rhythms, even though they're triplets, okay? And triplet, heavy use, remember, heavy use of triplet quavers. Why? To give a jig feel. So, what else have we got in this piece? Okay, well, remember it's a concerto, it's a show-off piece, especially for the harpsichord. And the harpsichord part has got lots of passages of the same note value. Now that is a big thing to get your head round. So firstly, what would you call those? The study guide actually calls those semiquavers, which isn't actually correct. Individually they look like semiquavers, but because we've got 6 in a beat, we would call them sextuplets. Sextuplets or sextuplet semiquavers. That's another common rhythm in this piece. And why? Because it's virtuosic. Baroque music often uses long passages of the same note value. You'll see that in the Purcell when we get to look at that, because the left hand is quavers throughout the part. The bass line is quavers throughout the entire movement. We get long passages of sextuplet semiquavers, and we get long passages of triplet quavers because it is the Baroque style to have the same note value. So what we call, that's a note value is a dotted quaver. The note value is a semiquaver. The note value is a sextuplet semiquaver. Note value means what is the rhythm length of that note. In the Baroque period, we get long passages of just one note value. And that helps us drag out the music and spin it out in that Fortspiegelung way that we looked at the other day. So, sextuplet semiquavers, tick. You've said that, you get a mark in the harpsichord. Because the harpsichord is a solo instrument, tick, you get another mark for saying why we've got sextuplet semiquavers. We get long passages of sextuplet semiquavers because there's a Baroque habit or fingerprint or characteristic to have long passages of the same note value. Tick, tick, and suddenly you're unpicking for England. Okay, so what else have we got? We've got dotted rhythms in the opening, ba-dum-bum, triplet quavers, ba-da-da-da-da-dum. We've already looked at tempo and meter. We've got sextuplet semiquavers. Is there anything else? Well, we've looked at the long passage of the same type of note value, and there's one more that I would like to pick out, and that is the fact that the B section, can I write this? The B section, okay, is more lyrical. Well, that's not a rhythm term, is it? Well, yeah, well it is if we try and work out why or how he creates that lyrical feeling. And it is more lyrical because he uses longer note values in the B section. In the B section. Longer note values in the B section. And that's a rhythm term again. So, simple. Very simple to learn the facts of the rhythm here. Triplet quavers. Some dotted quavers, a dotted feel. Okay? Long passages of triplet quavers, giving a compound G feel, which is true of the type of movement we've got. Long passages of sextuplet semiquavers, because it's virtuosic. Long passages of the same note value, because it's Baroque, and Baroque music likes to have spinning out of ideas. And we know that our B section contrasts, doesn't it, in key, it's in a B minor, that's not rhythm, okay? It contrasts in who plays the tune first, that's not rhythm, okay, that's use of instruments. It contrasts in the how many instruments are playing at the start of the B section, that's not rhythm, that's texture. But it contrasts in using longer note values, that's rhythm. So I hope that's clear. Very little to say, but a real skill in trying to work out how to take your simple answer and weave it into a justification of why those things were chosen and why they are effective. Let's have a listen to several of those little points together. Passages of semiquavers, which the guide says, I say sextuplet semiquavers, which is more accurate. Passages of triplet quavers, some dotted rhythms, some longer note values. And that's it. Bye.